The town of Beverley has a rich and fascinating history. This history includes artists and writers, as well as kings and rebels. But the story of Beverley starts all the way back in the medieval times, and much of its history ever since has been shaped by the churches in the town. In this video, we're going to explore medieval religion, what people believed and how they learned it. We're also going to have a look at some of Beverley's churches and see the role these institutions had in the development of the town and the people who lived here. The town of Beverley was established by an important and holy man called St. John of Beverley. St. John was born in the East Riding of Yorkshire in the 7th century. When he grew up, he worked in the church and ultimately became Bishop of York. When John retired, he founded Beverley by establishing the very first buildings in the town. John died on the 7th of May in the year 721, and he was buried at what is today Beverley Minster. 300 years later, John became known as Saint John. This was because it was recorded that John was responsible for miracles, both when he was alive and after his death. These miracles included healing people who were injured or unwell. After the town was founded by St. John, Beverley grew in size and eventually became one of the most important towns in medieval England. In this period, the most significant and powerful institutions in the town were its churches. Almost every person living in medieval England was Christian and believed in God, the Bible, and heaven and hell. The church was absolutely central to medieval society. It owned a third of the land in England, and its institutions provided education, hospitals, historical record keeping, and welfare for the poor and needy. One of these institutions were monasteries, which are religious houses in which monks or nuns lived. Those living in monasteries were meant to be separate from the everyday world and lead perfect, holy lives. In the early 8th century, St. John of Beverley built a monastery near to what is today the Minster. In addition to monasteries, other religious buildings included parish churches, such as St. Mary's Church in Beverley. The parish church was the centre of medieval life. Here you would come for your church services and worship, but it was also a place for feasts and celebrations, plays and entertainment, and particularly during religious holy days, which occurred throughout the year. From the outside, medieval churches still standing today can look much the same as they did 500 years ago. However, the inside of a medieval church would have looked very different. Medieval churches were full of colour. The walls were painted in bright and vivid colours, and the building was full of statues, carvings, and stained glass windows. This decoration was really important for educating medieval people. It is important to remember that most people who lived then couldn't read or write. Also, the church services that they came to hear were given in Latin, a language that most people couldn't understand. To help ordinary people understand and learn about Christianity, medieval churches used the decoration in the building to tell stories. One of the most common lessons taught through this decoration was about what happened if you behaved badly. In the medieval period, it was understood that if you sinned on earth, you could face purgatory and hell after you died. Paintings and decoration in churches were used to show what would happen to these sinners. In this way, the decoration acted as a warning about such bad behaviour. We can see some examples of this decoration in St. Mary's Church. The ceiling of St. Mary's is full of medieval carvings known as roof bosses. These bosses show lots of different stories, including demons in hell torturing those who had sinned on earth. Here in these two carvings, we see the humans being tormented by different demons. Not all decoration was so scary. Among the bosses, we also find images of saints, angels, and scenes from the Bible. Each of these bits of decoration were designed to educate medieval people about religion and to help them live in such a way that when they died, they went to heaven. One of the reasons that Beverley grew to be such an important town in the medieval period was because of pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is a journey to a place with particular religious significance. This could be a really dangerous journey and involve crossing seas and countries. As a result, those undertaking a pilgrimage, who were known as pilgrims, often travelled in groups and carried lots of supplies to help them survive the long journey. All kinds of people went on pilgrimage, including men and women and rich and poor. Some people went on pilgrimage to try and gain forgiveness for sins. Others hoped to have a disease cured. It was believed that at a pilgrimage site, the relics or body of a saint could provide miraculous powers when prayed to. In Beverley, the tomb of St. John of Beverley in the Minster was a really popular destination for pilgrimage. People from all over the country travelled to pray at his tomb, where it was believed that all kinds of miracles could occur. St. John was not just popular with pilgrims, but also with kings of England, who frequently came to visit his tomb and pay their respects to this famous holy man. The church and its teachings were central to every part of medieval life. In Beverley, part of this past is captured in the medieval churches that still stand. Through these buildings, we can see how religion was understood and practiced in the town hundreds of years ago.